The living entities include Brahma and his sons like Daksha, the periodical heads like Vaivasvata Manu, the demigods like Indra, Chandra, and Varuna, the great sages like Bhrigu, Vyasa, and Vasishtha, the inhabitants of Pitriloka and Siddhaloka, the Charanas, Gandharvas, Vidyadharas, Asuras, Yakshas, Kinnaras, and angels, the serpents, the monkey shaped Kimpurushas, the human beings, the inhabitants of Matriloka, the demons, Pishachas, ghosts, spirits, lunatics, and evil spirits, the good and evil stars, the goblins, the animals in the forest, the birds, the household animals, the reptiles, the mountains, the moving and standing living entities, the living entities born from embryos, from eggs, from perspiration, and from seeds, and all others, whether they be in the water, on land, or in the sky, in happiness, in distress, or in mixed happiness and distress. All of them, according to their past deeds, are created by the Supreme Lord. Etat prapanchayati. This is an elaboration of what was stated just before in 3.5 verses. Prajapate Saradhais Tribhi Dhyantanam Dhattaiti Anenanvayaha. This is actually 37, 39. Okay, so I think it will be completed. This is not a complete Sanskrit sentence. Let me just quickly check. Dhatte. It's a continuation of text 36 as a Sanskrit sentence. तत्र प्रजापत्यादीनि नामानि तत्तद् वाच्यानि रूपाणि तत्तद् कर्माणि च ज्ञेयानि पृथक् तत्तद् अवान्तरभेदेन. So he creates all these different species, personalities with specific names. So with specific references, they are always referred to in that way. With specific activities, this should be understood. And of course, they also have their internal variations also. Guru and Anvay. Oh my God. Madhvacharya quotes from Skanda Purana. Daityas are tamasa tamasa. The predominating ones are enemies of the devas. Then you have tamasa, rajasa, who are their followers. And then you have tamasa, sattvika. Oh, come on. So there's a whole working out of the different at 3 levels, from tamasa, 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 and so no, from tamasa, tamasa to sattvika, sattvika. These are all particular, you can say, posts. The varieties of living entities are mentioned in this list, and with no exception, from the topmost planet down to the lowest planet of the universe, all of them in the different species of life are created by the Almighty Father Vishnu. Therefore, no one is independent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Bhagavad Gita 14.4, the Lord therefore claims all living entities as his offspring in the following verse. Sarva yonishu kaunteya murtaya sambhavanti yah tasam brahma mahadyone raham bija pratah pita. The material nature is compared to the mother, although every living being is seen to come out of the mother's body. It is still a fact that the mother is not the ultimate cause of such a birth. The father is the ultimate cause of birth. Without the father's seed, no mother can give birth to a child. Therefore, the living beings in different varieties of forms and positions within the innumerable universes are all born of the seeds of the Almighty Father, the personality of Godhead. And only to the man with a profound of knowledge do they appear to be born of the material nature. Being under the material energy of the Supreme Lord, all living entities beginning from Brahma down to the insignificant ant are manifested in different bodies according to their past deeds. The material nature is one of the energies of the Lord. Bhagavad Gita 7.4. The material nature is inferior in comparison to the living entities. The superior nature. The superior nature and inferior nature of the Lord combine to manifest all universal affairs. Some of the living entities are relatively happy in better conditions of life, whereas others are in distressing conditions of life. But factually, none of them are actually happy in material conditional life. No one can be happy in prison life, although one may be a first class prisoner and another a third class prisoner. The intelligent person should not try to be promoted from third class prison life to first class prison life, but should try to be released from the prison altogether. This is a theme that is repeated um, by Ramanujacharya, Sridhara Swami, Nimbarkacharya, and what to speak of in our line also. One must be promoted to first class prisoner. One may be promoted to first class prisoner, but the same first class prisoner may again be degraded to third class prisoner in the next term. One should try to be free from prison life and go back home, back to God. That is the real goal for all types of living entities. यच्चैराज्ञापृष्टं यावत्यः कर्मगतयः यादृशी द्विज सप्तम इति तस्यापि प्रसंगात् अनेनैव उत्तरमः. A question was raised in 2.8.13 by the king. What are the various destinations of the karmic reactions? Incidentally, this happens to be an answer to that. So they may get first class or second class or third class destinations. If this include 41, it includes 41. I haven't read 41 yet. I should come back here. 41. Sattvam rajastama iti tisra suranrnarakaः तत्राप्यैकैकशो राजन् भिद्यन्ते गतयस्त्रिधा यदैकैकतरोऽन्याभ्यां स्वभाव उपहन्यते. According to the different modes of material nature, the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and the mode of darkness, there are different living creatures who are known as demigods, human beings, and hellish living entities. O king, even a particular mode of nature, being mixed with the other two, is divided into three, and thus each kind of living creature is influenced by the other modes and acquires its habits also. Sattva-bhedena karma-gati vaichitrim prapanchayati. So that's a variety of different consequences in terms of satoguna, rajoguna, tamoguna. This is noted in 1.5 verses, which comes as text 41 in our BBT edition. Sattva-dhyas tisrogataya. So there are three destinations in terms of satoguna, rajoguna, tamoguna. Suradi shabda, rishyadina, prakshanartha. So here the demigods. The demigods includes the rishis. Now, rishi is also a technical expression while discussing species. Rishi is also a species, higher species. Rishyadina Prakshanartha. This includes demigods here includes rishis and so on. Anyabhyam gunabhyam swabhava guna upahanyate anuvidhyate. So these modes they compete with each other. Katham evam vishayan srijati. How does he create the various sense objects? तत्राह इमाः कर्मणां गतयः कुशला पुण्यफलरूपाः अकुशला पापफलरूपाः मिश्राः तत् उभयरूपाः. In the previous verse, it was stated that some of them have auspicious, some of them are auspicious, some of them are inauspicious, some of them are mixed. That means auspicious means they are experiencing the results of their punya. Akushala or inauspicious means they are experiencing the results of their previous sins, papa. And Mishra, mixed, both auspicious and inauspicious, means that they are experiencing the results of both their piety and their impiety. Jivaha pratiswakarma anurupagati prapnuvanti. The jivas, they experience uh, consequences that are exactly in line with their previous karma. Srashtuko dosheti bhava. So the implication is what is so then uh, uh, what is the defect of the creator? It's a rhetorical question. There is no defect in the creator. रजस्वभावोऽपि नरः सत्त्वस्वभावमिश्रण आधिक्यात् ब्राह्मणः तमस्वभावमिश्रण आधिक्यात् शूद्र इत्येवम्. So each kind of living creature is influenced by the other modes and acquires its habits also. That is explained by Chakravarti Thakur. Man, even though he is in Rajaguna, when there is an increase in the admixture of the Sattvic Swabhava, then you get a Brahmana man. When there is an increase of the admixture of the Tamasic nature, then you have a Shudra man. The living entities individually are being conducted by a particular mode of nature, but at the same time, there is every chance of their being influenced by the other two. Generally, all conditioned souls in the material engagement are influenced by the mode of passion because every one of them is trying to lord it over the material nature to fulfill his individual desire. But in spite of the individual mode of passion, there is always a chance of being influenced by the other modes of nature by association. If one is in good association, he can develop the mode of goodness, and if in bad association, he may develop the mode of darkness or ignorance. Nothing is stereotyped. One can change his habit by good or bad association, and one has to become intelligent enough to discriminate between good and bad. The best association is the service of the devotees of the Lord, and by that association, one can become the highest qualified man by the grace of the Lord's pure devotees. As we have already seen in the life of Srila Narada Muni, he became the topmost devotee of the Lord simply by the association of pure devotees of the Lord. By birth, he was the son of a maidservant and had no knowledge of his father and no academic education, even of the status. But simply by associating with the devotees and by eating the remnants of their foodstuff, he gradually developed the transcendental qualities of the devotees. By such association, his taste for chanting and hearing the transcendental glories of the Lord became prominent. And because the glories of the Lord are not different from the Lord, he got direct association with the Lord by means of sound representation. Similarly, there is the life of Ajamila, sixth canto, who was the son of a Brahmana and was educated and trained properly in the discharge of the duties of a Brahmana, but who, in spite of all this, because he contacted the bad association of a prostitute, was put into the path of the lowest quality of Chandala, or the last position for a human being. Therefore, the Bhagavatam always recommends the association of the Mahat, or the great soul, for opening the gate of salvation. To associate with persons engaged in lording it over the material world means to enter into the darkest region of hell. One should try to raise himself by the association of the great soul. That is the way of the perfection of life. 42. स एवेदं जगद्धाता भगवान धर्मरूपधृक् पुष्णाति स्थापयन् विश्वं त्रियं नरसुरादिभिः. He, as the personality of God, as the maintainer of all in the universe, appears in different incarnations after establishing the creation. And thus he reclaims all kinds of conditioned souls amongst the humans, the non-humans, and the demigods. Brahmarupena srashtritvam ukva Vishnurupena palakatvam aha. So having pointed out that he is the creator through Brahma. In the form of Brahma means through Brahma. Now he points out that he is the uh, protector in the form of Vishnu. Now, Vishnu. A very interesting quotation he gives from Vamana Purana, Madhvacharya. In the form of Matsya and so on, the Supreme Lord, he provides nourishment. Nrsimhadev, Nrsimha, is situated in Rudra. Nrsimha, situated in Rudra, brings about dissolution. Vishnu, situated in Brahma, the inexhaustible Lord Vishnu, who is situated in Brahma, he engages in the activity of creation. There are similar other quotes from the Puranas that Madhvacharya quotes. Seva Bhagavan Tiryagadi Avatarai Idam Vishwam Sthapayan Palayan Dharma Rupena Pushnati Bhogai Samvardhayati. That Supreme Lord, through various incarnations in the form of animals and so on, he maintains this universe. Dharma Rupena Pushnati. And through dharma, he nourishes them, which means he causes them to become enhanced in their enjoyments. Jiva Goswami, Jagadharta, no, the Jagadharta, Jagadhata, typing error, Jagadhata. Shri Vishnu Rupena Tatpalakah San, Dharma Rupa Dharma Swarupa Rakshakah Bhutva, Tiryagadya Anukartri Rupai, Shri Matsyadya Avataresya Pushnati. Lord Shri Vishnu, okay, the Supreme Lord, who is the maintainer of the entire universe in the form of Sri Vishnu, is its protector. And he assumes the form of dharma, religious principles. In other words, he protects the nature of dharma. And thus, he nourishes this world through incarnations such as Sri Matsya, who are forms that imitate the activities of animals and so on. Dharmapadena dharmataha raksha adharmataha nashaha dharma dharmabhyam srishti iti dyotayati. That's an indication here that from dharma you get protection, from adharma you get destruction. So in this way, this creation happens because of both dharma and adharma. In this way, he ensures that everyone is being protected, just as even animals and birds, they protect their children, their friends, their wives, and so on. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu. Wait, I thought there is some question somewhere. What is the proper training Ajamil got to become a Brahmana? Oh, Brahmanas, they have so many things to do. They're trained. They have their various forms of restriction, many things to do. It comes in all the Dharma Shastras, the duties of Brahmanas. So since from the time they receive Upanayana, they study the Vedas, they're restricted in their eating, they're restricted in various dealings. So many things are there. And in Bhagavatam also it is mentioned that Ajamila was trained, brought up as a Brahman. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu incarnates himself in different societies of living entities to reclaim them from the clutches of illusion. And such activities of the Lord are not limited only to human society. He incarnates himself even as a fish, hog, tree, and many other forms. But less intelligent persons who have no knowledge of him deride him, even if he is in human society as a human being. The Lord therefore says in the Bhagavad Gita 9.11, Avajananti mam mudha manushim tanum ashritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhutam maheshwaram. As we have already discussed in the previous verses, it is concluded that the Lord is never a product of the material creation. His transcendental position is always unchanged. He is the eternal form of knowledge and bliss, and he executes his almighty will by his different energies. As such, he is never subject to reactions for any of his acts. He is transcendental to all such conceptions of actions and reactions. Even if he is visible in the material world, the exhibition is only of his internal energy, for he is above the good and bad conceptions of this material world. In the material world, the fish or the hog may be considered lower than the man, but when the Lord appears as a fish or hog, he is neither of them in the material conception. It is by his causeless mercy that he appears in every society or species of life, but he is never to be considered one of them. Conceptions of the material world, such as good and bad, lower and upper, important and insignificant, are estimations of the material energy, and the Supreme Lord is transcendental to all such conceptions. The words Parambhavam or transcendental nature can never be compared to the material conception. We should not forget that the potencies of the Almighty Lord are always the same and do not decrease because the Lord assumes the form of a lower animal. There is no difference between Lord Sri Ram, Lord Sri Krishna, and his incarnations as a fish and hog. He is all pervading and simultaneously localized at any and every place. But the foolish person with a poor fund of knowledge, for want of that param bhavam of the Lord, the transcendental nature of the Lord, cannot understand how the Supreme Lord can take the form of a man or a fish. One compares everything to one's own standard of knowledge. As the frog in the well considers the sea to be like the well, the frog in the well cannot even think of the sea. And when such a frog is informed of the greatness of the sea, it takes the conception of the sea as being a little greater than the well. As such, one who is foolish about the transcendental signs of the Lord will find it difficult to understand how Lord Vishnu can equally manifest himself in every society of living entities. 43. ततः कालाग्निरुद्रात्मा यत्सृष्टमिदमात्मनः सन्नियच्छति तत्काले घनानीकम् इवानिलः. Thereafter, at the end of the millennium, the Lord himself in the form of Rudra, the destroyer, will annihilate the complete creation as the wind displaces the clouds. Rudra rupena samhartrattvamaha. And then there is destruction by the Lord in the form of Rudra. Atmanasakashad yadidam srishtam tatsanniyakshati samharati. The creation has come about from him and he destroys that very creation. Ghanani, just as the wind displays um, bunches of clouds. This creation is very appropriately compared to clouds. Clouds are created or situated in the sky, and when they are displaced, they remain in the same sky without manifestation. Similarly, the whole creation is made by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his form of Brahma. It is maintained by him in the form of Vishnu, and it is destroyed by him in the form of Rudra or Shiva, all in due course. This creation, maintenance, and destruction are nicely explained in the Bhagavad Gita 8.19 to 20 as follows. Bhuta gramasa evayam bhutva bhutva praliyate. Ratri agame vashah partha prabhavatyahar Parastasmatu bhavonyo vyakto vyaktat sanatanaha yasya sarveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu na vinashyati. The nature of the material world is that it is first created very nicely, then it develops very nicely and stays for a great number of years, even beyond the calculation of the greatest mathematician. But after that, it is again destroyed during the night of Brahma without any resistance. And at the end of the night of Brahma, it's again manifested as a creation to follow the same principles of maintenance and destruction. The foolish conditioned soul who has taken this temporary world as a permanent settlement has to learn intelligently why such creation and destruction take place. The fruitive actors in the material world are very enthusiastic in the creation of big enterprises, big houses, big empires, big industries, and so many big things out of the energy and ingredients supplied by the material agent of the Supreme Lord. With such resources and at the cost of valuable energy, the conditioned soul creates, satisfying his whims, but he unwillingly has to depart from all his creations and enter into another phase of life to create again and again. To give hope to such foolish conditioned souls who waste their energy in this temporary material world, the Lord gives information that there is another nature which is eternally existent without being occasionally created or destroyed, and that the conditioned soul should utilize his valuable energy so that he can go there instead of wasting his energy in matter, which is sure to be destroyed in due course by the Supreme Will. The conditioned soul should utilize his energy in the devotional service of the Lord so that he can be transferred to the other eternal nature where there is no birth, no death, no creation, and no destruction, but permanent life instead, full of knowledge and unlimited bliss. The temporary creation is thus exhibited and destroyed just to give information to the conditioned soul who is attached to temporary things. It is also meant to give him a chance for self realization and not for sense gratification, which is the prime aim of all fruitive actors. 44. Ittham bhavena kathitho Bhagavan Bhagavattamah Netham bhavena hi param drashtumarhanti surayah. The great transcendentalists thus describe the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but the pure devotees deserve to see more glorious things in transcendence beyond these features. Wait. Open up. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Very end. Kartritvadyapavadena dashamasya shuddhimaha. Now he clarifies the 10th topic. As an exception to this, the Lord's features as just the creator, maintainer, and annihilator of this material cosmos. I thought there was a question here somewhere. Somebody had a question. Who had a question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes.
When we say that the Lord himself in the form of Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva, so what does it actually mean, Prabhu? Like,
he uses Brahma, he uses Shiva, but he himself functions as Vishnu.
He uses it. It means that because by guidance he.
What?
Because other living entities, means any living entity in the world, they are doing something, and but the energy is actually coming from Lord himself. So
Yes.
means whatever energy.
Yes.
So someone may say that there are also like Lord himself is doing things from them, through them.
No. This is he's functioning as see, this is a statement of Lord Brahma. We already saw this 2.6.32. By his will I create, Lord Shiva destroys, and he himself in his eternal form as the personality of Godhead maintains everything. He's a powerful controller of these three energies. Srijami tanniyuktaha aham. Okay, by his appointment, I do the activity of creation. Haro harati tadvashaha. Under his subordination, Lord Shiva destroys. Vishwam Purusharupena Paripati Trishadhitrik. The controller of the three energies, by his eternal form of the personality of Godhead, maintains the whole universe.
Mm. Mm.
This is specific to the function of creation, maintenance, and annihilation. This cannot be done by living entities. Even the liberated living entities cannot engage in creation, maintenance, annihilation of the material worlds. That Vyasadeva states it in Vedanta Sutra towards the end. Jagad Vyapara Varjam. They attain great excellences in the spiritual realm, with the exception that they don't have the capacity to engage in activities pertaining to the material worlds, like creation, maintenance, annihilation. So this activity can only be done by God.
Mm. Yes.
Okay. Ittambhavena sashtritvadirupena tasmadva tasmadapana akashambhutare so kamaya bahusyam prajaye ityadi shrutya kathitaha. So the Shruti describes the Supreme Lord in this manner. Here, the great transcendentalists refer to the great transcendentalists who follow the Shrutis. So he quotes from Taittiriya Upanishad 2.1.3 or 2.6. Surayastu param kevalam eva rupena eva drashtum narhanti. But those who are intimate devotees, the intimate associates of the Lord, they certainly don't deserve to see him only in this manner. Surya Kechit. Here, the pure devotees means there are only some of them. So, Shuddha Bhakti Mantastu Param Kevalam Vishwasrashtratvadirupena Drashtum Narhanti Kintu Vaikunthato Swadhamani Chidvibhutav Swapreyasyadibir Vihara Manatve Naiva Ityarthaha. What do they then deserve to see? They deserve to see the Supreme Lord as sporting with his beloved goddesses of fortune in the spiritual opulent world, which is his own abode, such as Vaikuntha. The Lord is not only the creator and destroyer of the material manifestations of his different energies, he is more than a simple creator and destroyer, for there is his feature of Ananda, or his pleasure feature. This pleasure feature of the Lord is understood by the pure devotees only and not by others. The impulseless is satisfied simply by understanding the all-pervasive influence of the Lord. This is called Brahman realization. Greater than the impulseless is the mystic who sees the Lord situated in his heart as Paramatma, the partial representation of the Lord. But there are pure devotees who take pleasure in the direct pleasure, Ananda, potency of the Lord, by factual reciprocation of loving service. The Lord in his abode, called the Vaikuntha planets, which are eternal manifestations, always remains with his associates and enjoys transcendental loving services rendered by his pure devotees in different transcendental humors. Humor means rasa, different sentiments, emotions. During the manifestation of the creation, the pure devotees of the Lord practice that devotion service to the Lord and thus take full advantage of the manifestation by qualifying themselves to enter into the kingdom of God. The Bhagavad Gita 18.55 confirms this. Bhakti-vaibhava vijanati yavan yaschasmi tatvataha Tato mam tatoto gyatva vishate tad anantaram. By development of pure devotional service, one can factually know the Lord as He is, and thus be trained in the bona fide service of the Lord, and be allowed to enter into the direct association of the Lord in so many capacities. The highest glorious association with the Lord is made possible in the planet of Goloka Vrindavan, where Lord Krishna enjoys himself with the gopis and his favorite animals, the Surabhi cows. A description of this transcendental land of Krishna is given in the Brahma Samhita, which is considered by Lord Sri Chaitanya to be the most authentic literature in this connection. 45. नास्य कर्मणि जन्मादौ परस्यानुविधीयते कर्तृत्व प्रतिषेधार्थं माययारोपितं हि तत्. There is no direct engineering by the Lord for the creation and destruction of the material world. What is described in the Vedas about his direct interference is simply to counteract the idea that material nature is the creator. तत् किं यतः अस्य विश्वस्य जन्मादौ कर्मणि परस्य ईश्वरस्य इत्थं भावः कर्तृत्वं नास्ति. श्रुत्यापि तात्पर्येण न प्रतिपाद्यते, किन्तु अनुविधीयते अनूद्यते. किमर्थं? कर्तृत्वप्रतिषेधार्थं. यतः मायया आरोपितं प्रकाशितं. तथा च श्रुतिः निष्कलं निष्क्रियं शान्तं निरवध्यं निरञ्जनम् इन्द्रो मायाभिः पुरुरूपय्यते इत्याद्या. Actually speaking, the Supreme Lord is himself not personally involved in the creation. Even this Shruti does not really intend to say that he is personally involved in the creation. It is simply repeating what is commonly experienced. Why? Because it wants to point out that he is not personally involved in this creation. It is manifested by Maya. And then he goes from Shveta Shveta Upanishad and the other Indro Maya Vipururupayate. The Supreme Lord himself is seen to be many because of his various magical powers, Maya potencies. तत्कर्तृत्वं परस्य नास्ति किन्तु तत्कर्तृत्व प्रतिषेधार्थम अनुद्यते मात्रम ही. Jiva Goswami says the Supreme Lord is not actually the doer, but it is in fact to point out that he is not the doer that the Shruti speaks like this. Yajjadpi tat prabhavata eva tat tat bhavati. Even though it is by his power that all of this happens, creation, maintenance, and annihilation. तथापि अयस्कान्तवत् तत्र tasya vikaro nasti iti bhavana. The implication is the Supreme Lord does not undergo any of the degrading transformations that are associated with creation and so on. किंच नैतद् भगवतो वस्तुतः कर्म. In reality, moreover, this is not the activity of Bhagavan. अस्य विश्वस्य जन्मादौ जन्मस्थिति संहारे कर्मणि परस्य परमेश्वरस्य इत्थं भाव कर्तृत्वं न भवति. This is not actually the work of the Supreme Lord. This work of creation, maintenance, annihilation of the material world. Into anuvidhiyate, Shruti, Smrityadishu sarvatra varnyate. But it is described everywhere in the Shruti, Smritis and so on in this manner. Kimartham? Why? Kartritva pratishedhartham. To deny that he is the real creator. Ki yataha mayaya tad aropitam. Srishtyadinam gunakaryatvad bahirangaya mayaya eva kartatvam. Paramapurushe aropitam. Iti matkritam api idam mat swamitva स्वामित्वात् तेन परमेश्वरेण इव कृतं न तु वस्तुतः परमेश्वरस्वरूपेण कर्ता इति अर्थः. The idea is that it is Maya which has superimposed all of these functions on him, which means creation, maintenance, and annihilation are effects of the modes of the external Maya. So, in reality, the Supreme Lord, in his own spiritual nature, is not the doer. And then he quotes the same quote given by Sridhar Swami for this. The Vedic direction for the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the material world is this. Yato va imani bhutani jayante, yena jatani jiranti, yat prayanti, abhisam vishanti. That is, everything is created by Brahman. After creation, everything is maintained by Brahman. And after annihilation, everything is conserved in Brahman. Gross materialists, without any knowledge of Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan, conclude material nature to be the ultimate cause of the material manifestation. And the modern scientist also shares this view that the material nature is the ultimate cause of all the manifestations of the material world. This view is refuted by all Vedic literature. The Vedanta philosophy mentions that Brahman is the fountainhead of all creation, maintenance, and destruction. And Srimad Bhagavatam, the natural commentation on the Vedanta philosophy, says, Janmadhyasya yatonmayaditaratasharthesha swarak, etc. So that, and as it will be evident clear in a little further, this is actually happening by the Supreme Lord's Purusha incarnations who are actually Paramatma. Inert matter is undoubtedly energy with potential to interact, but it has no initiative of its own. Srimad Bhagavatam, therefore, comments on the aphorism Janmadhyasya by saying Abhigya and Swarak. That is, the Supreme Brahman is not inert matter, but is Supreme Consciousness and is independent. Therefore, inert matter cannot be the ultimate cause of the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the material world. Superficially, material nature appears to be the cause of creation, maintenance, and destruction. But material nature is set into motion for creation by the Supreme Conscious Being, the personality of Godhead. He is a background of all creation, maintenance, and destruction, and this is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 9.10. Mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam hetuna anena kaunteya jagad viparivartate. The material nature is one of the energies of the Lord, and she can work under the direction of the Lord, Adhyakshena. When the Lord throws his transcendental glance over the material nature, then only can the material nature act as a father contacts the mother, who is then able to conceive a child. Although it appears to the layman that the mother gives birth to the child, the experienced man knows that the father gives birth to the child. The material nature, therefore, produces the moving and standing manifestations of the material world after being contacted by the Supreme Father and not independently. Considering material nature to be the cause of the creation, maintenance, etc., is called the logic of nipples on the neck of a goat. The Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami describes this logic of Ajagala Sthana Nyaya as follows, as explained by His Divine Grace, Sri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj. The material nature as the material cause is known as Pradhan, and as the efficient cause, it is known as Maya. But since it is inert matter, it is not the remote cause of creation. So note that Maya is the material cause. Maya is also the efficient cause. But it is not the remote cause. Kaviraj Goswami states as follows. Atayev Krishna Mool Jagat Karan Prakriti Karan Jaiche Ajagalastan. Chaitanya Charitamrita 5.61. Because Karanarnavashayi Vishnu is a plenary expansion of Krishna. It is he who electrifies the matter to put it in motion. The example of electrification is quite appropriate. A piece of iron is certainly not fire, but when the iron is made red hot, certainly it has the quality of fire through its burning capacity. Matter is compared to the piece of iron, and it is electrified or made red hot by the glance or manipulation of the supreme consciousness of Vishnu. Only by such electrification is the energy of matter displayed in various actions and reactions. Therefore, inert matter is neither the efficient nor the material cause of the cosmic manifestation. Independently, Sri Kapiladeva said, Yatholmukad Vispulingad Dhumad Swasamad Apyatmatvenabhimatad Yathagni Pratagulmukad 3.28.40. The original fire, its flame, its sparks, and its smoke are all one. For fire is still fire, yet is different from the flame. And the flame is different from the sparks, and the sparks are different from the smoke. In every one of them, namely in the flames, in the sparks, and in the smoke, the integrity of fire is present. Yet all of them are differently situated with different positions. The cosmic manifestation is compared to the smoke because when smoke passes over the sky, so many forms appear, resembling many known and unknown manifestations. The sparks are compared to living entities, and the flames are compared to material nature, pradhana. One must know that each and every one of them is effective. simply because of being empowered by the quality of the original fire. Therefore, all of them, namely the material nature, the cosmic manifestation, and the living entities, are but different energies of the Lord Fire. Therefore, those who accept the material nature, Prakriti, as the cosmic manifestation's original cause, Prakriti is the cause of creation according to Sankhya philosophy, are not correct in their conclusion. The material nature has no separate existence without the Lord. Therefore, setting aside the Supreme Lord as the cause of all causes is the logic of Ajagalasthana, or trying to milk the nipples on the neck of a goat. The nipples on the neck of a goat may seem like sources of milk, but to try to get milk from such nipples will be foolish. What is 6? Ayam tu brahmanah kalpa, savikalpa udahrata, vidhi sadharano yatra, sarga prakrita vaikrita. This process of creation and annihilation described in summary herein is the regulative principle during the day and during the duration of Brahma's one day. It is also the regulative principle in the creation of Mahat, in which the material nature is dispersed. Uttamartham upasamharati. Brahmanah sambandhi kalpaha mahakalpaha vikalpaha avantaraha tatsahita udaharanatmena sankshepiта ukta. So the kalpa in relationship to Brahma is called the Mahakalpa. Vikalpa refers to intermediate kalpas. All of these have been put together for the sake of for giving an illustration. Sambhutaha yatra mahakalpe prakrita mahadadisargaha vantarakalpe che vaikrita. So in the Mahakalpa, you have the material creation. That means the creation of the material elements like the Mahatattva. In the intermediate kalpas, you have Vaikrita kalpa. We will come across this in the third canto. These are all Thavara, Visarga, Ityayam Vidhi, Prakaraha, Anyahi, Mahakalpa, Sadhana. This is all very common. How the creatures are created, how the living species are created. This is called Vaikrita Sarga. Visarga. In other words, this process of creation. This is standard for a day of Brahma. And that includes, and similarly, the description of Sarga, creation of the elements. That also happens every time there is a universe that is being created. That time also it happens. So you have creation of the universe, and then you have daily creations. Brahma's work of Visarga happening in his everyday. Krama Sandarbha. Kalpaha Brahmadinam. A kalpa is a day of Brahma. Sa vikalpa, sabheda, along with its internal varieties. Atha kalpak ganana yatha skanda prabhasa khande. And here is an enumeration of the various kalpas as found in the Prabhasa Khanda or Skanda Purana. 30 days of Brahma, they all have specific names. I think Prabhupada will quote them, so I'll leave it. Shri Bhagavatasya Saraswata Kalpa Kathamayatvantu Prayakameва. When we hear that Sri Bhagavata is filled with narrations that took place in the Saraswata Kalpa, that refers to most of the incidents. Why we are here. Shweta Varaha or Shweta. Shweta Varaha. That's the time when Varaha also appears. Ayam eva brahmotpatti samaye brahma uchyate iti jnana. It should be understood that at the time when Brahma appears, that kalpa is known as Brahma kalpa. Evam pitrakalpa eva prathama pararthante padma nirmita lokatvat padma uchyate iti cha. Similarly, pitrakalpa itself, in the first half of Brahma's life. See, Brahma's life is also divided into first half and second half. In the first half of Brahma's life, the worlds were created from a lotus, universal lotus. So therefore, that day of Brahma is also known as Padmakalpa. Prakarana Upasamharati. This is a summary of this section. Brahmana Sambandhi Kalpa, Samvatsara Shatatmakaha, Brahmanaha, Paramayu Rupaha. Okay. So the Kalpa in relationship to Brahma is 100 years of Brahma, and that is his life. Vikalpaha, Avantara Brahmadina Rupaha. The Vikalpas here refer to the days of Brahma. Yatra Mahakalpe Prakrita Mahadadi Sarga, Avantara Kalpe Cha Vaikruta, Thavaradi Sarga. So in the Mahakalpa, which is actually a day of Brahma, a life of Brahma. At that time, Mahatattva and other creations take place. The creation of Mahatattva and other uh, fundamental elements take place. And then in the kalpas that come in between, these are the days of Brahma. Then we have Vaikrita, the creations of the various species, such as the non-moving, moving, and so on. I am Vidhihi, I am Prakaraha. This process, Anyayar Mahakalpadivis Sadharanaha, this is common to other Mahakalpas and other days of Brahma. Evam cha yavan kalpo vikalpo va iti asya prashnasya uttaram sankshepeణ dattam. This is a summary answer to the question raised in 2.8.12. How long is a kalpa? How long is a vikalpa? There are three different types of creation called Mahakalpa, Vikalpa, and Kalpa. In the Mahakalpa, the Lord assumes the first Purusha incarnation is Karnadukshaya Vishnu with all the potencies of the Mahatattva and the 16 principles of creative matter and instruments. The creative instruments are 11. The ingredients are 5. And all of them are products of Mahat or the materialistic ego. These creations by the Lord in his feature of Karnadukshaya Vishnu are called Mahakalpas. The creation of Brahma and the dispersion of the material ingredients are called Vikalpa. The creation by Brahma in each day of his life is called a Kalpa. Therefore, each day of Brahma is called a Kalpa. And there are 30 Kalpas in each of Brahma's months. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 8.17 as follows. Sahasra yuga paryantam maharyad brahmano viduhu. Te ratrim yuga sahasrantam teho ratra vido jana. In the upper planetary system, the duration of one complete day and night is equal to one complete year of this Earth. This is accepted even by the modern scientists and attested by the astronauts. Similarly, in the region of still higher planetary systems, the duration of day and night is still greater than in the heavenly planets. The four yugas are calculated in terms of the heavenly calendar and accordingly last 12,000 years in terms of the heavenly planets. This is called the Divya Yuga, and 1,000 Divya Yugas make one day of Brahma. As mentioned above, the creation during the day of Brahma is called the Vikalpa, and the creation of Brahma is called the Vikalpa. When Vikalpas are made possible by the breathing of Mahavishnu, this is called the Mahakalpa. There are regular and systematic cycles of these Mahakalpa, Vikalpas, and Kalpas. In the Prabhasa Kanda of the Skanda Purana, Sukadeva Goswami replies as follows to a question of Maharaj Parikshit's concerning the Kalpas. Pratama Shveta Kalpascha, Dvitiyo Nila Lohitaha, Vamadevastati Yastu, Tato Gathantaro Paraha, Rauravah Panchamah Proktah, षष्ठः प्राण इति स्मृतः सप्तमोऽथ बृहत्कल्पः कन्दर्पोष्टम उच्यते सद्योऽथ नवमः कल्पः ईशानो दशमः स्मृतः ध्यान एकादशः प्रोक्तः तथा सारस्वतो परः त्रयोदश उदानस्तु गरुडोऽथ चतुर्दशः कौर्मः पञ्चदशो ज्ञेयः पौर्णमासी प्रजापतिः षोडशो नारसिंहस्तु समाधिस्थो ततो परः आग्नेयो विष्णुजः सौरः सोमकल्पस्ततो परः द्वाविंशो भावन प्रोक्त सुपुमान इति चापर वैकुंठश्चाष्टिशस्तद्वत् Vali kalpastato para. Saptavimshotha vairajo Gauri kalpastata para. Maheshwarastata proktas Tripuro yatra ghatita. Pitrikalpastata chante yah puhur Brahmanasmrta. The 13 kalpas of Brahma are Shweta, Neela Lohita, Vamadeva, Adhantara, Raurava, Prana, Brihat, Andarpa, Sadyotha, Ishana, Dhyana, Saraswata, Udana, Garuda, Kaurma, Narasimha, Samadhi, Agneya, Vishnuja, Saura, Soma, Bhavana, Supuma is actually Supuman, Vaikuntha, Archisha, Vali, Vairaja, Gauri, Maheshwara, Vaitri. These are Brahma's days only. So each day of Brahma has a name. And he has to live for months of these days up to 100 years. So we can just imagine how many creations there are in Kalpas only. Then again, there are Vikalpas, which, as mentioned above, are generated by the breathing of Vishnu. It should be Mahakalpa. Then again, there are Mahakalpas. The editorial mistake. This is stated in the Brahma Samhita. Yashaikanishvashita kala mathavalambya jivanti loma vilaja jagadantanatha. Or else, if you take it as Vikalpa itself, then it should be understood that the Vikalpas are creations of Brahma, creations of the various species during his days of Brahma. And that happens ultimately by the generation of the breathing of Mahavishnu. The Brahmas live only during the breathing period of Mahavishnu. So the exhaling and inhaling of Vishnu are Mahakalpas. And all these are due to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for no one else is the master of all creations. Let me just quickly see. Okay. All of that information is presented by Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur in his next commentary. Wait, 1 minute. Okay, we'll stop with that. Okay, please complete your assessments. If you don't complete your assessments, I'll not move to third canto. Avinav Bro is already complaining. Very few have submitted their assessments. Okay. Vanchagalputrubhyo Shri Pasandubhyo Chapatitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha.